I stood there, frozen, my fingers gripping the doorframe so tightly my knuckles turned white. My breath hitched, my chest tightening as I took in the scene unfolding before me. Clara's head was tilted back, her lips parted in a breathless gasp, Aaron's hands mapping out familiar territory. Territory that belonged to me. Rage burned through my veins, but I didn't move. I didn't shout. Instead, I watched, letting the reality sink deep into my bones. The woman I had built a life with, the woman I had trusted beyond reason, had chosen my best friend. She hadn't seen me yet. Neither had he. They were lost in each other, tangled in sin, oblivious to the world outside their stolen moment. It wasn't just physical, it was the way she clung to him, the way her fingers trembled against his chest, the way her voice held a softness that had long disappeared when she spoke to me. I wanted to lunge forward, to rip Aaron away from her, to make them feel even a fraction of the pain threatening to rip me apart. But I didn't. My anger, sharp and volatile, simmered beneath the surface. Acting on impulse would give them control, would make me just another husband who lost everything to betrayal. No, I would not be that man. Instead, I stepped back, inhaling deeply, controlling the storm raging inside me. I wasn't weak, and I wasn't about to give them the satisfaction of an easy escape. If they thought they could do this to me at my daughter's wedding of all places, then they had no idea who they were dealing with. The music from the reception drifted down the hallway, muffled but still vibrant. My daughter's laughter carried through the air, mingling with the clinking of champagne glasses and murmured congratulations. This was supposed to be a day of love and new beginnings. Instead, it had become the day my marriage died. Forcing my expression into something neutral, I took one last look at the two of them before stepping back into the shadows. My heart pounded as I turned away, my mind already spinning with what needed to be done. I wouldn't cause a scene, not yet. Revenge was best when served cold. Best when the house was eerily quiet when I returned that night. Clara had stayed behind at the hotel, likely to avoid the inevitable confrontation. Fine by me. I needed space, time to think, to let the betrayal harden into something useful. Emotions cloud judgment. I wouldn't let anger ruin what came next. I poured myself a drink, the amber liquid burning its way down my throat. Memories flooded in. The early days when Clara and I could barely keep our hands off each other. Late nights spent talking about dreams, building a future side by side. I'd loved her with everything I had, never imagining she would become a stranger. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Her name lit the screen. I let it ring. I wasn't ready to hear her lies. Not yet. By the time she arrived home, hours had passed. I sat in the living room waiting. Her heels clicked against the floor as she walked in. For a moment, she hesitated in the doorway, her posture tense. She knew. She knew I had seen everything. "You're still up," she said softly, her voice too casual. I studied her without speaking. Her makeup was smudged, her hair slightly disheveled despite her best efforts to smooth it. My gut twisted with the image of Aaron's hands in her hair, his mouth on her skin. "Sit down," I said, my tone sharp. Her breath hitched, but she obeyed. She perched on the edge of the sofa, hands folded in her lap like a child waiting to be scolded. "I saw you," I said coldly. "You and Aaron, in that room." Her face paled, and for a second I thought she might faint. "It's not what you think," she whispered. A bitter laugh escaped me. "Don't insult my intelligence. I watched you. How long has it been going on?" She bit her lip, struggling to find the right words. Words that might save her. But there were no magic words. Not this time. "A year," she finally admitted, her voice barely audible. "A year? 12 months. 365 days of deception. All while I remained loyal, blind to the truth unraveling behind my back." "Why him?" My voice was quieter now, but no less lethal. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I felt nothing. Not pity, not sympathy, just a cold detachment. "I don't know," she said weakly. I didn't plan it. It just happened. Things like that don't just happen, Clara. I leaned forward, my jaw clenched. You chose him, over and over again. You lied to me, disrespected our marriage, and you did it during our daughter's wedding. Was it worth it? She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. I didn't want to hurt you. I laughed again, but there was no humor in it. You didn't want to hurt me? You destroyed everything. For what? Some cheap thrill? I'm sorry, she choked out, reaching for my hand. I pulled away, her touch burning like acid against my skin. Don't, I snapped. You don't get to be sorry now. You made your choices, and you're going to live with the consequences. Her shoulders shook with quiet sobs, but I felt nothing but a cold satisfaction. She thought she could break me. She thought she could betray me without paying the price. I stood towering over her. This marriage, it's over. You lost me the moment you decided to crawl into bed with him. Panic flashed across her face. No, she gasped, rising to her feet. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I love you. You don't get to say that. My voice was cold, final. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. She crumbled in front of me, but I didn't care. Love couldn't survive betrayal, not like this. Without another word, I turned and walked away, leaving her broken in the wreckage of the life she had shattered. But this wasn't the end, not by a long shot. No, I had plans. Plans that would make both of them wish they had never crossed me. The days that followed were filled with silence. Clara tried to reach me, but I refused to acknowledge her existence beyond the necessary logistics of our impending divorce. She had become nothing more than a memory, a stranger who wore the face of the woman I once loved. But love was dead. And in its place, something sharper took root, something that demanded justice. I spent hours gathering everything I needed: bank statements, phone records, receipts for the little hotel getaways she thought I wouldn't notice. She hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She had used our money to fund her affair. Dinners, gifts, even a weekend trip that I had believed was a girls' retreat. Lies wrapped in more lies. Aaron, that smug bastard, had gone silent as well. He knew I wouldn't let this go. His wife, Linda, was still blissfully unaware. But that was about to change. On a crisp Friday morning, I made my move. I invited Linda to lunch. She was always kind to me, always warm. It sickened me that she had been just as deceived as I had been. When she arrived at the cafe, she smiled, oblivious to the storm about to hit. Hey, this is a nice surprise, she said, setting her purse down. How have you been? You know, since Emily's wedding? I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Not great, Linda. I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. You need to see this. Her smile faltered as she picked it up. I had compiled everything. Texts between Clara and Aaron, photos of them sneaking into hotels, timestamps proving their late-night rendezvous. The color drained from her face. No, she whispered, eyes scanning the screen. This can't be real. It is, I said, my voice firm. They've been doing this for over a year. Tears welled up in her eyes, but her expression shifted from devastation to fury. She set the phone down with trembling hands, inhaling sharply. That son of a bitch. I nodded. I thought you deserved the truth. Linda clenched her jaw, her nails digging into her palms. And what are you going to do? I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. I'm going to destroy them. She met my gaze, something dangerous flickering in her eyes. Then let's do it together. That night, the trap was set. I sent Clara a text, something simple. We need to talk. Meet me at the house at 8. Linda did the same with Aaron. They both walked into their doom without hesitation. At precisely 8 o'clock, I sat in the living room, a single envelope resting on the coffee table. Clara walked in, her expression cautious. "What is this about?" she asked, crossing her arms. Before I could answer, the front door swung open again. Aaron stepped inside, his face darkening when he saw me. Then he noticed Linda, who had been waiting in the hallway. His mouth fell open. "Linda!" "Shut up!" she snapped, stepping inside. "Sit down, both of you." Clara looked between us, panic creeping into her features. "What's going on?" I picked up the envelope and tossed it in front of them. "This is everything. Proof of what you've been doing behind our backs." Aaron's hands curled into fists. "You son of a—" I cut him off with a sharp glare. "Don't even try it." Linda crossed her arms, her voice laced with venom. "We know everything, every lie, every hotel, every disgusting betrayal." Clara's lower lip trembled. I never meant to hurt anyone." Linda let out a bitter laugh. "Well, you did. And now it's time for payback." I leaned forward, letting my voice drop to a near whisper. "You two thought you could walk away from this unscathed? Number, I've already filed for divorce. Clara, you're losing everything. The house, the savings, the life you built on my trust. You'll be left with nothing." Clara gasped. "You wouldn't—" "I already have," I interrupted coldly. "And Aaron? Linda is divorcing you too. She's taking the house, the cars, everything. Hope the two of you are ready to struggle together." Aaron's face twisted with rage, but he couldn't argue. He had no ground left to stand on. Linda smirked. "You ruined our lives. Now we're ruining yours." Clara collapsed onto the couch, tears streaming down her face. Aaron sat in stunned silence, his betrayal finally catching up to him. And as I stood grabbing my coat, I felt lighter than I had in months. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice. I stood at the edge of my future, watching the wreckage of my past crumble behind me. Clara and Aaron had thought they could betray us, thought they could indulge in their lust without consequence. But they had underestimated me. Underestimated Linda. The weeks that followed were brutal for them. My divorce papers were filed, airtight with the evidence I had gathered. The house? Mine? The savings account? Frozen, ensuring Clara walked away with nothing but regret. Aaron's fate was no better. Linda had drained his accounts, seized their home, and left him scrambling to pick up the shattered pieces of his double life. Justice had been served, but I wasn't done yet. I had one final move to play. The night before our court hearing, I invited Clara to meet me one last time. She arrived at our favorite restaurant, her eyes swollen, face drawn. She thought this was a chance to make amends, a desperate attempt to salvage something. I let her believe it. "I still love you," she whispered, reaching for my hand. "I made a mistake, but we can fix this." I studied her, taking in the woman I had once adored, the woman who had destroyed everything. "You still don't get it, do you?" I asked softly. Her lips parted in confusion. I leaned forward, my voice calm, steady. "I don't love you anymore." The words hit her like a slap. She flinched, her breath hitching. "I spent years giving you everything," I continued, "and you threw it away. For what? A cheap thrill? A man who was supposed to be my best friend?" Tears slid down her cheeks, but I didn't stop. I wanted her to feel this, to drown in the realization that she had lost me forever. "You wanted excitement?" I smirked, leaning back. "Well, now you have it. No home, no husband, no security. Just you and the man you ruined your life for." Clara shook her head. "Aaron, he's gone. He left. He said he never loved me." A dark chuckle escaped me. "Poetic, isn't it? The man you sacrificed everything for tossed you aside the moment things got hard." She covered her face, sobbing, but I had no sympathy left. I stood, tossing a few bills on the table. "Goodbye, Clara." She looked up, desperation in her eyes. "Please, we can try again." I walked away without looking back. Outside, the air was crisp, the city alive with movement. I inhaled deeply, feeling lighter than I had in years. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A message from Linda. Drinks tonight? A celebration for new beginnings. I smirked, typing back. Absolutely. Revenge was sweet. But moving on? That was the real victory.